Okay, London session live. Going to do some scalping on the USD pairs. So in London session, the time frames that are relevant coming into London Open are the H8, H4, and H2. So right at London Open, I'm scanning all these time frames to see if I have any setups. If I have setups, I'll take them. If I don't, then I'm waiting for the next influx of volume, which is the H12 and H4 open. So the H4 bar has just opened, and at this time, I'm scanning all the H4 bars. And so very quickly, what I'm doing is I'm just looking at all the USD pairs on the H4, and I'm looking at the quick buy section. And I want to see any of them which are lit up. So right now, I know that we have UJ lit up and Aussie USD lit up. This tells me that we have trend momentum on these two pairs. So these are the two pairs that I want to focus on the H4. And the other relevant time frame are the H12 and H2. So I'll check out the H12, and I have the H2 in a separate tab here. All the USD pairs on H2, and I can immediately see, again, only Aussie USD and UJ. If I check the H12, same exact thing, only UJ and Aussie USD. Very easy for me. I know immediately that I can disregard all these other pairs and just focus on Aussie USD and UJ. So what I'm doing now, I want to be looking for any setups that I see on this H4 bar. I know that we have trend momentum. I want to find any of my setups on these two H4 bars. If I hover over the quick buy section, execution time frame, the H4 bar is traded on the M3. So on this tab, I have the M3 on Aussie USD and UJ. I'm looking at the H4 setups as a setup time frame. And so at this point, what I want to do is see one of my setups. I look at the bar structure here. We have a bullish breakout followed by a bearish fake out. I look at the breakout level. H4 breakout level is right here. And faking out the H4 low or triggering that peak low would be below that breakout level. So I know that the setup that I'm looking for on Aussie USD is going to be a trend pullback setup. This is a second bar setup. We have a bullish breakout followed by a bearish fake out. So this is a second bar setup. Usually I like to trade these first bars, but did not set up for me on the first bar. So I'm waiting for a setup here on the second bar. And the second bar setup is going to be a trend pullback simply because we're below that breakout level. That peak is below that breakout level. And so I know that's what I'm waiting for. And so at this point, I want to see price come down, trigger that H4 low, and then I'll be looking for one of my alignment patterns if it does that. If it doesn't do that, then there's no trade for me. I need to trade picture perfect trades. I'm not looking to take anything unless it triggers that H4 low. So I have my alerts here as well as on the breakout. If it doesn't trigger that low, if it doesn't pull back, then I'm looking for one of my breakout setups. But right now, I want to see price come down, trigger that low. And so on UJ, I do the same thing. Look at the bar flow, breakout followed by a bearish fake out. And we have the breakout level right here. And if it triggers that peak of the H4, it's going to be above that breakout level. So if we have that H4 low above the breakout level, then I know that we're trading a trend continuation on UJ. Right, so we're above breakout level if we fake out that H4 low. And so on the cycles itself, what UJ is doing is going to be doing one of these ones. It's a continuation pattern, while what Aussie USD is doing is getting below the breakout level, faking out. This is a fake out retracement. Getting above is a pullback continuation. So what I want to see Aussie USD do is get below and trade one of these cycles down here. So again, I have my alert set up here and going to set one on the H4 high. And I'm just waiting for one of these setups to happen. I only trade setups. I'm not trading price action or any movement or anything like that. I don't care if it breaks out. I need to have my setup. One of these pullbacks, a continuation or pullback. And if it breaks out instead, I'm looking for a trend breakout setup. And at this point, I don't do anything else. I just walk away and just see which one sets up first. Now, in terms of what I would like, the H2, I can see that we are in a range here, while the UJ is not. So I would actually prefer to be trading UJ, but at this point, Aussie USD is actually pulling back. So Aussie USD might be the one that I'll get triggered first. So I'll have a look at that. We are in ranges here, and if I'm in ranges, I'm trading one of my range patterns here. And when I'm trading in ranges, it doesn't matter how that range is created, inside bar, outside bar, fake out bars. I want to be trading alignment patterns at the low, reversals at the low edge of that range, or I'm taking breakout. But if I'm taking the breakout, I need to see consolidation Otherwise, it's not a breakout. And so we have this range that's been created by this outside bar: fake out high, fake out low, close inside. The previous that highest highs and lowest lows become the range. We have already triggered that low of the range. So usually when you trigger one side of the range, I expect price to get to the other side. So there is nice confluence here on Aussie USD, but again, I would rather be trading UJ instead. All right, so this is pulling back. Let's see if it triggers that H4 low. Once it does that, then I'll move on to the next step. But first thing that I want to see is a trigger of that H4 low. Okay, the H4 low has been triggered. It's red over here, so it tells me that we have triggered that and currently breaking out. On the multi-time frame map, you can see that it has been triggered at the low. This red tells me that it's bearish. It's triggered the low and currently breaking out to the downside. So once it triggers that momentum time frame over here, this one was the trend pullback one. Once it triggers that, I'm looking for one of my reversal alignment patterns. So what I'm looking for over here is one of my alignment patterns: reversal, continuation, or pullback. And the way that I see that is I look for the H1 breakout level. H1 is the momentum time frame. I can see that we are breaking out below the low. Right, it's a H1 breakout low, and we are triggering the momentum time frame, which is the H1 low below that breakout level. So this is a reversal pattern. This is the one that I like to trade because this only happens at swing points. These other ones happen in between the swing points. Continuations and pullbacks happen in between, but the reversal only happens at a swing point. So if this can get back above the H1 breakout level, this would be the entry. So these ones in black text, these are the safe entries when you're trading these patterns. These ones are also valid to take, but these are aggressive. So I'm going to be waiting for price to flip this breakout level, the H1. And once it does that, then I'll take an entry here. This is more of a range trade because I can see these yellow lines telling me that we're at a range. And so I'm going to be taking this trade and keeping my stops at the low outside of that range. But again, I'm kind of hoping that UJ will give me the setup first. But whatever happens, whichever one sets up first is the one that I'll take. So this is going to be valid until 5:45, 15 minutes before the new hour. I don't want to be taking it. I'll be waiting for the next hour instead. And let's see what happens here. So I'm just waiting until price alerts, and then once it does that, I'll come back. Okay, we have officially faked out the H4 low. Price initially tried to break out, had a fake out bar, got back above. This yellow bar lets me know that we have flipped the M3 breakout level and closed above the high, reversing the trend. So previous trend was bearish. Here's the last bearish momentum bar. Tells me that we're pushing down. And now that we have that, we're pushing back up, or that's would be the expectation. Now, the problem with this one right now is I can see that the higher time frame breakout levels are all pushing down. So I have to be careful about this. I don't want to take a trade while these lower time frames are pushing down. Lower time frames will reverse before higher time frames. So as price gets above these breakout levels, and especially the H1, I'll be slowly sizing my position in to take a trade back up to the high of this range. Right. So as this bar confirms closures above these breakout levels, above peak levels, I'll be slowly sizing into my position. Ideal scenario, though, is to see this H1 breakout level get pushed down. If we have a closer breakout level on the H1, this is the current H1 low right here. If this closes in breakout, the breakout level will get pushed down. And then the ideal scenario is to find rejection as price tries to get down and then get in on the flip of that H1. That would be ideal scenario. So this can only happen at 6 p.m. But if we do have some confirmation on these levels, then I don't mind sizing in right now. We do have some momentum pushing up. So I only deal with bar closures. I don't care that it's pushing. I want to see this bar close in the levels that I want. All right, so we've officially closed above these breakout levels, M15 and H4. Looking for some continuation here. Continuation for me is 10 seconds or 15-second closures above that last peak. So I Don't need to drop down to lower time frames. I can just watch the timer here, and I just want to see price continue pushing past the peak with closures at 10 seconds or 15-second intervals. So just keeping my eye on the timer. Okay, I want to see a closure, a 10-second closure above. You got that? It's first position in. Stop loss at the low. And I will be sizing in as this trade continues pushing. Maybe at this range level, or maybe the H1 high over here. See how it does at these levels. Okay, so we got in there. Second position, I'll get in if we can get past this range, and then final would be above this H1 breakout level. Got a closure above the range level, and again, I'm looking for 10-second or 15-second interval closures above that peak. That lets me know that we have continuation, and I just want to see price continue pushing. And again, I'm just looking at the timer. This is just so I have a clear process of how to get in. All right, second position in. Same stop loss. And I think above H1 will be below 1R. So I'm not going to take that H1. Yeah, so I won't take ones that are below 1R. So this is it. Two positions in on Aussie USD. And let's see if it gets to the peak here. H1 high, this is one target. I would rather get this up to the range. There's no guarantee these ranges will get taken out. So maximum level would be that range, and if I'm scalping. So this is three, what is that, 3.5R. And let's see if I can get all the way there. Okay, TP hit on Aussie USD. Went right up to the previous H4 high. So this is a 2.5R plus 1.5R. This is a 4R trade. Took me less than 15 minutes to hit this trade, 15 minutes of chart time to hit this trade. And now I am done. All right, so to recap, London session, this is the scalping process using momentum theory. Right at London Open, I'm scanning the higher time frames, H8, H4, and H2. These are the relevant time frames at the London Open. If I don't see anything there, and I didn't really see anything there, then I'm waiting for the next influx of volume, scanning the H12, H4, and the H2. So in this case, I scanned those time frames and I identified Aussie USD as well as UJ as the pairs to watch. Now you can see that NZD USD has entered the mix as well as Euro USD. And then I scan the H2, which we also had Aussie USD and UJ. And again, these are now pairs that I'll be looking at in New York session. So once I identified that, I did see that we were in a range on Aussie USD, while UJ was not in a range. I did prefer to trade UJ, but Aussie USD is the one that set up for me. UJ did set up, but after my session time, didn't have a rejection of the low. Usually I want to see a rejection of the low. It did do everything else that I wanted. Faked that momentum time frame, triggered the setup time frame, and I can see these dotted lines here. If you look really closely, these are the confirmation time frames. So this tells me that we have a breakout of the M15 high. If I look down at the M1, which looks at that M15 as the momentum time frame, I'll be able to see my entry over here. Don't think I got that rejection. I didn't see that rejection. So yeah, we did not get a rejection of the low, but we did break out of the high. So if I don't get rejection, what I'm waiting for is a breakout of that high. And you can see the difference in how a trade like UJ, which was not in a range, and how a trade like Aussie USD that was in a range, how they behave. Now, I have no problems trading inside of a range, but I would prefer a trade that would have just cut through smoother like this. And once it faked out this time frame and got back under, this is so close to the entry that, so close to the TP that I would have exited over here. But you can just generally see how smoother these sort of moves are. So I don't really like to trade in ranges, but if I do, I want to enter aggressively, and I want to keep my stops as low as possible. All right, so this small little move on a range gave me 4R, and that's what I'm trying to do when I'm trading inside ranges. All right, so that's the way that you scalp using momentum theory. Took me, again, less than 15 minutes of chart time to identify this. Now, the way that you day trade is exactly the same as scalping. The only difference is that when I'm scalping, I'm looking at one time frame on multiple pairs. But when I'm day trading and swing trading, I'm looking at one pair on multiple time frames. But all the patterns, everything that I look at, all the concepts are exactly the same. There's no difference. In the case of scalping, what I'm doing is I'm looking at a higher time frame. In the case of AUD USD, I think I was looking at the H4. I have that higher time frame bias, and then I trade it on the lower time frame. Exact same thing on day trading. I'm looking at higher time frames, which are up here, monthly, weekly, daily, H8, and then I'm trading the alignment on the lower time frames. There's no difference. I can switch between day trading, swing trading, and scalping instantly. And the reason why I can do that is because the only levels that exist in my trading are breakout levels. Right here, we have the weekly breakout level, which peak gets triggered, and closing price. These are the only three levels that exist in momentum theory. And that means that every single time frame behaves exactly the same way. I don't have things like Asia high and low, because where's Asia high and low on a monthly bar or a weekly bar? It's completely useless on a monthly and weekly. If you're using things like Asia high and low, you're restricting yourself to just trading on intraday time frames, and then you need a different way of analyzing the higher time frames. Or if you're using things like volume profile or RSI or things like that, and then you enter using head and shoulders or trend lines, that's two different methods that you need to maintain as you're trading. And for me, when I'm changing time frames, when I'm using two different methods, I constantly have to reset the way that I think. Try different, look at different techniques as I'm looking at different time frames. But with momentum theory, when I use just those three levels, I can flow through all these different time frames really easily, seamlessly, and that kind of maintains flow state for me when I'm trading. Right, and so that's pretty much it. So this was just a demonstration of how you scalp using momentum theory. And the next steps for me is looking at New York session. So New York session now, we're done with London. I don't trade that first hour of New York. I find that there's too much news, and it's really close to this H8, H4, and H2 open. So I always wait for the second hour of New York. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this tab, which has all the H4, change this to H8, and then at the start of the H8 bar, which is in 35 minutes here, I will look at each one of these and see which one is lit up. And so right now it's still currently active. So let's see which ones are lighting up. I'll have a quick look right now, but I do check once it's confirmed. I always want to trade confirmed bars. Okay, so currently we have NZD USD, Aussie USD, and UJ. And then I look at the H2 as well. They don't have to be the same. Very often they're going to be different. But in this case, I think they're all kind of the same. Maybe Euro USD. Yeah, so Euro USD is not on the H2, but it is on the H8. And so what that means is I'll be looking at Euro USD on the M5. So M5, the setup time frame for the M5 is on the H8. And so the setups that I'm going to be looking for, this alignment that I'm looking for. I have another video where I talk about the different alignments. These are the structures that I'm looking for on the H8 setup time frame. Once it closes, right now it's still open. It'll be a breakout bar if it closes the way it is, and then I'll be looking for the first bar setups, the trend setups, the breakout bar setups. So these ones I was looking at the second bar setups, which are continuation. But on Euro USD, if it closes like this, I'll be looking for these first bar setups. Right, and then so after that, if I find something good, I'll take it. If I don't find anything, then I'm looking at the next open, which is the H1. So in New York session, there's lots of volume, so I don't mind looking at the H1. All the other sessions, I don't look at the H1. I'm looking at higher time frames. So At the start of the third hour, I switched this over to H1, and then the same thing. I looked to see if there's any setups here, and then that's it. So I focus on these H1s only on USD pairs as well as my core pairs, which are mostly the indices as well as gold and silver. All the other pairs, the cross pairs, I only focus on the H4. And that's because spread is a little bit too high on some of them most of the time. So I don't want to I don't want to waste any mental energy on looking at H1. I just want to look at H4, which very often is the H8 as well. So here, these are my Aussie pairs. I can see immediately AJ, Euro Oz, Aussie Swiss, actually all of them. Aussie pairs today have been really good. These are NZD pairs. Looks like they're all moving as well, except NZD Swiss. Euro pairs. These are the pairs that I'd be looking at in London, as well as GBP pairs. Right, you can just instantly see which one is lit up, and that's the one that I'm focused on. And then the Swiss pairs. And then in New York session, I'll look at CAD pairs as well. So right now, if it closes like this, I'll be looking at CAD J, NZD CAD, Aussie CAD, and the rest I don't really care about. Probably I can find something on USD CAD on a lower time frame. If I see something that I like visually, but it's not lit up, then usually I'll take a look at the cycles and see the reason why. And the reason why this is not lit up is because we're in a counter trend breakout. So technically we are bullish above this weekly breakout level, but we are breaking out below previous week low. And yeah, that's the reason why. And that's pretty much it. That's the process of how I trade when I'm scalping. These ranges, they exist until there's a breakout bar that closes outside of that range, right? So I don't assume that this thing is just going to break, and this is why I just trade right to that range and see what happens in the if it does close. If it does close, then I'll get in on the retracement. All right, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So that's scalping with momentum theory, and going on to New York session.